last year, there are moves now to perhaps bring in a fifth international crime of ecocide, to go alongside things like war crimes and genocide. And that could mean senior oil executives potentially ending up in The Hague and doing time at a future date. I just wonder whether you had considered that and what you thought about that, because that's, I think, when we look at history, and history looks back on this period, and we look at the ecological and climate catastrophe that is unfolding, in part because of what your companies are doing, I wondered how you reflected on those moves in The Hague. It's a general comment.
Since we're in The Hague, I don't think there's a day I wake up without thinking, how do we go quicker, how do we go faster? And I would say pretty much every colleague I have, and I'm sure across the table, feels exactly the same way. So, yeah, I'm very comfortable. I think we do incredibly important work. I think it is vital to the energy system, and I think, with all due respect, it is going to be companies like Shell and BP that have the project management, have the financial muscle, are prepared to provide the transparency that are going to be able to get this enormous transition accomplished. And whilst, we've talked a lot about gas and North Sea, again, the alternative is, I think we're seeing that play out. And yes, Norwegian gas is very clean, but unfortunately, the gas markets globally are being completely rewired, and we know what's happening in those markets, and what's filling them is not Norwegian gas, it's LNG. And LNG has a significantly higher footprint. So, it may not be palatable, but consistent, again, with the balanced pathway that the Committee for Climate Change have outlined, we are still well below that demand level. And I think for stability of a just transition, a course of action that focuses on acceleration of renewable power, I think there needs to be a lot more focus, where I very much agree with Tessa, is on demand and efficiency. But then we do need the stability of base load consistent with the Committee for Climate Change pathway to net zero through this prevailing period. And IEA themselves stipulate and model that we need $350 billion dollars worth of investment a year in current oil and gas production to maintain that transition, not in frontier, but in current. And that's a nuance that is sometimes lost.
Just very quickly to add to that, because I'm conscious you're probably looking at the clock given the time's run on, but I think that I would say, and I'm not a lawyer, so I haven't been following that particular example, but what I would say is that I did nearly 3 decades in the not-for-profit sector before coming into BP. So if I didn't think BP really meant what it was up to, I would not have joined the company to try and help and make a contribution. And I think that's the case for a number of our companies today. And I can only speak for ours, but I think that we have to recognise that there is an awful lot to do, and we need to do it in concert. No single company, no single sector can do it in isolation.
Thank you very much. As you say, we have